what exactly is the issue with the Chinese economy?
Well, basically the problem that we're having deals with inflation. I don't know what your viewers know about inflation. Basically, inflation is the rise in the price of goods over time. One way of thinking about this is too much money chasing not enough goods. For example, during the Great Recession, my next door neighbor asked me, why are we bailing out these banks? Why not just send every American citizen $100,000? It would cost the same. Wouldn't that be good for an economic stimulus? Of course, if everyone has $100,000, there's still the same amount of iPods and TVs and stuff out there. So of course, with all that money floating around, prices will go way up. Right? And inflation usually rises when there's too much money floating around, or natural resources are becoming scarcer or costing more. What's happening with the Chinese? For years, the Chinese economic miracles overlooked the fact that the average Chinese person has a lower standard of living than, say, the average Russian. That's starting to change. The Chinese consumer is becoming a real force, and they want gas, and they want cars, and all the stuff that Western European and the United States uses. So that means natural resources like oil prices are going to go way up. They're going to want to eat more meat, more luxury grains. They're going to want more cell phones and computers, which means more heavy metals, various other natural resources. So long story short, because of Chinese consumer demand, we're starting to see worldwide inflation, which means the prices in the United States for things like gas and food and whatnot are going to go up. And plus, in the United States, we've had low interest rates for years trying to keep this economy to get back together, which is fine as long as inflation is low. But now that inflation is high, it's likely that the Federal Reserve is going to start raising interest rates, making it much more costly, for example, to buy a home or buy a car. Now this is good if you're in a lot of debt, you like inflation. But if inflation is really high and you want to buy stuff or save money, it's really bad. And so it'll be interesting to see what the U.S. government can do, if anything, either to talk to China, to try to help them moderate their consumer policies, or maybe have the Fed raise interest rates, although the president doesn't have any direct power over that.
Okay, so is this the United States' fault?
Not really. I mean, the United States can be blamed for having too much money floating around, but we always knew that we'd have to have lots of money to keep the economy from being in a recession forever, and that at some point we'd have to deal with inflation. So fault is sort of I mean, is it our fault that the banks blew up the world? Maybe, but other countries did it too.
Well, how did the U.S. imports play into it?
That's an excellent question. I have to get back to it.
Okay. What are solutions that you see in the near future for us?
Basically, I think we're going to have to eat it. Obviously, the Federal Reserve can move in and raise interest rates to try to stem inflation. It's possible that the United States government could talk to China and try to get them to stem their consumer demand or to buy more from their own country. But quite frankly, the Chinese consumer is not going to take kindly to an American saying, why don't you cool your consumer spending for the good of the United States, which has been consumer spending, for decades. So Chinese are probably not going to be real happy about it.
Okay. Do you think the United Nations should step in to do something as well?
No. I'm an economist. I support free markets. I think this is just an adjustment we're going to have to live with.